we have the honor of having our actual assigned chaplain with us here today for Sailor 360. We're going to speak on a couple of things, i.e. performance psychology, as well as mindfulness. The N33 team will be doing mindfulness, and Chaps will be doing performance psychology. A little bit about Chaps. He was ordained in 2006. He joined the military and commissioned in 2007. Received his doctorate in 2021. And I'd like to introduce you to our chaplain, Commander Ryan Barang.
Well, good morning, everybody. I didn't see everybody stand. Can you just do one thing really quick? Everybody just stand and just take a quick stretch. I know that was an exciting brief. You might need to stretch. I just see people that didn't get up at all. So, all right. Thanks for doing that. Take a deep breath. Ryan's my name, Chaplain's my game. Shaka's my greeting, and it's always the same. I'm married to my best friend. I have 4 beautiful children that look exactly like me and my wife. They're like mini-me's. And there's no other place I'd rather be than stationed here with you all. This is I've been stationed all over the world, but there's something special about this place. A lot of people, they're up in the air on California, but you know what I do in the morning now, talking about performance, and this is the new practice, and I practiced it. I got here in September, and I have not missed a single day. I'm practicing this new thing called touch creation before I touch technology. So when I wake up, no screens at all. There's a lot of screens in my house. You know, it's just we're tech people. But I don't look at screens. I don't look at anything. Sometimes I don't even brush my teeth. But I just start walking outside and I start grounding barefoot. I walk on grass, walk on sand. I have the privilege of just living right by the beach. So I run to the beach just in board shorts, and that's it. I walk to the beach and I stick my hands in the sand. I want to feel something real. Because all day we're looking at synthetic and we're looking at screens and blue light. It's actually bad for you. And so I'm touching sand. I'm doing my prayers, and then I jump in the water. I'm actually still recovering right now. It's pretty cold right now, but I shrunk it. Everybody thinks I'm crazy. Good shock to the lymphatic system. But I've been doing that, and I haven't missed a single day since September. And it has been phenomenal. So the more you can wean yourself from those little devices in your pockets, the better. Okay, so that's just a little about me. I'm happy to be here. I'm talking about spiritual fitness and psychological performance. Spiritual fitness is this nebulous term that people have been throwing around, but all the only definition that matters for us is how the Navy sees it. There's an OMR that defines spiritual fitness. Pretty simple. Inner strength from higher purpose. That was the street definition. There's a longer one. You can Google that. What is spiritual fitness in the Navy? But here's the interesting thing. You probably think that spiritual fitness has to do with God or religion, right? Like, raise your hand if you thought that. That's okay. No judgment here. In the Navy's definition, there's no mention at all about it. It says you can practice a philosophy or religion, but spiritual fitness is basically inner strength from higher purpose. We all joined because we believe in something bigger than ourselves. Whether you joined patriotically, for patriotic reasons, or you wanted some benefits, but you all said, I'm going to serve. And then in the fine print is, you could die doing this job, and you all signed up anyways. So I thank you. You're war fighters. I'm not. I've defined spiritual fitness, inner strength from higher purpose. What is psychology? Anybody know what psychology means? What's the suitcase? Yes.
The study of the brain and how the brain interacts with the things around us.
And that is right. Study the brain, but psyche. It's a Greek word, psyche. You kind of got to spit when you say it, but psyche is the soul. The soul, life, the self. So we are all psychological beings. Actually, we're made of 4 things: bio, psycho, social, and spiritual. So when I define psychological fitness, it's in what's going on in your soul. So we're physical, and we're also spiritual or psychological. Like, we're more than just our bodies. Right? This is just This is just a shell. I think I saw one meme of a grape. It says that the nut is gone, but the shell. This is just a shell. So when we're talking about psychological performance, we're talking about everything that's going on up here. Now, we don't know where the soul is on the body. I don't know if the soul's right here, and if I cut this pinky off, that my soul's gone. The soul is attached somewhere to the body. It's the thinking capacity of my being. Now, another aspect of the soul is your heart. Is your heart. The Greek word for heart is cardia. Anybody know what a cardiologist is? It's a doctor of the heart. So when you have cardiac problems, but when the Greeks used the word cardia, they weren't talking about a blood pumping physical organ in your chest cavity. They were talking about the deepest part of your soul, the thinking capacity of your being. Everything that we do in life comes out of what's going on in our soul. So I don't actually care what you're struggling with as much as I care about what you're thinking about and the things that have happened to you that's leading to how you're behaving. Right? The number one destructive behavior in the DoD is suicide-related behaviors. And then we have ARIs, we have domestic violence, we have sexual abuse, we have all sorts of problems. And I'm saying I don't care about any of those things as much as I care about what you're thinking about when you think about those things and what's happened to you in the past. The youngest in-person here is probably what, 19, 20? That's enough life to have some serious things happen to you. So when we all walk in here, when we all come to the Navy, we come with a lot of baggage. And there's two types of people in the world. There's people who have dealt with it, and there's people who walk around and they operate out of their wounds. So if you see somebody go, oh, that person's pissed off, oh, that person's such an angry person. No, that's actually not. It's that they've gone through things and they don't know how to deal with it. You might be thinking of your mom or your dad or your guardian or someone in your life that you think, yeah, that person's just a jerk. My perspective now is goes way beyond there being a jerk to like, I wonder what their story is. And of course, they're being a jerk or they're saying mean things to people. Like people have been making fun of me my whole life. But now I know there's actually something deeper than that. So when I say, you know what, I should just choke you out. No, I kind of step back from that. But what I'm thinking, so in that hurts too. Like I've been hearing that my whole life. But everybody's going through something, and something's happened to them, and that's why they make fun of people. That's why they say racial things. That's why we do the things we do, and we say the things we say. We've been taught a certain way, and we've also all been hurt. So if you want to have peak psychological performance, we have to deal with those things. I am not impressed when someone is a 300 PFT or they're, especially whatever, you're a special unit, you're a special person, and you can do more push-ups. That's not impressive. It's not impressive because sometimes that's a person operating out of their wounds. When I look at Olympians, the first thing I'm thinking is like, I wonder what's driving them. What are you running from? Like literally, what are you running from? Psychologically, mentally, emotionally, and one of the greatest wrestler to ever live, the greatest wrestler of all times, not debatable, right? It's Dan Gable. Okay, all right, I get it. Andre the Giant, rest in peace. Dan Gable never got scored on the Olympics, never lost in college except for one match to Larry Owens in the finals of flute, but the greatest wrestler of all time. Everybody's like, oh, great, Dan Gable's awesome, he's great. You know what his real story is? I read his book. His sister was raped and murdered in their own house. And he said, I had to do something to distract my parents. So I wanted to become the greatest wrestler ever. So that's what drove him. That's not a healthy place to be operating out of. And it's also not healthy that everybody goes, oh, that's great, Dan. Oh, that's great. And didn't sit him down and say, hey, you don't have to win every time. It's okay. But in his mind, it's like, he's got to deal with that. Dan's got to deal with that. I got to deal with that. My brother and I, my brother's slick hair back, got tattoos right here, like he's got sleeved up. I have none of that. I went a different route. I want to know how many degrees I can get. I want to know perfectionism and drivenness, and I was like the my family's like, oh, Ryan's awesome. And my brother, he would do this video like with my mom. He'd show my mom's face and then show her new tattoo, like as a game, right? Like he's just covered. We both have the same wounds, but I just went this way and he went that way. And with him, socially, kind of like, it wasn't socially acceptable, and the things I was doing was socially acceptable and praised. But we're both operating out of an unhealthy place. Does that make sense now? And we do it all the time in the military. Like if we had a board, I would say like, well, tell me your weaknesses. Because anybody could stand up here and tell you how awesome it is. Actually, what I'm doing right now is super easy. Going home and loving my family and unconditionally being a gracious and patient and gentle dad, that's kind of hard for me. I can sit up here and preach all day. This is so easy because you don't have to see what I'm like at home. So anyways, it's just changed my perspective on how people are performing with what's happened in their life, what I wish someone would have done earlier. I have no regrets actually, but it would have been interesting if someone sat down and said, hey, you don't have to be number one in everything. Like now everything's a competition. But at the same time, if I can advise, I just walked by an NJP. If you see there's people in the hall, there's an NJP, right? But there's how people are behaving, and then there's what's going on in their soul. Like I'm reluctant to grill someone and say, how dare you, like you suck at your job. If I'm talking about overall performance and psychological performance, it's like tell me what's going on. And we talk about kneecap to kneecap, but really it takes a lot of time and effort to sit down with someone. And I get paid to do this. Like if you sit down with me, I'll take off my watch. There's no time, and my staff knows that too. Like the old chaps, we don't know when he's gonna, because I just get super present. But people will start to tell you about their stories, and then you'll see there's more to us in our body. So the goal here today is to talk about how can we peak your psychological performance. Okay, I'll tell you a story just really quickly about 3 people. Fictitious names here: Zach, Screech, and Kelly. All right. Thought I was dating myself. Yeah. Does anybody not know who Zach, Screech, and Kelly are? All right. No judgment. No judgment. It's one of the greatest shows of all time. Saved by the Bell. Real stories, but fictitious names. Okay. Zach. Zach is an awesome F-18 fighter pilot. This is a true story. He leads in his church. He's phenomenal, and everybody loves him. But Zach's got a little secret. Zach cheated on his wife 2 times, but nobody knows this. I spend time with Zach. We meet at the golf course. We just started this relationship, and I say, I'll meet with you every Monday for 6 months. This stuff starts to come out. Like, hey, here's my real story. And I think, wow, what torture on earth that he has this secret. He told himself, I'm going to die with this secret. It stifled his performance, but he was also operating out of it. He was compensating for all that fear, and he was just awesome. Awesome at everything. But really inside, he was dying. Long story short, we worked through it, and we both fasted and prayed about the day he would tell his wife about everything that he's ever done. And advice over here was like, dude, that's stupid. That's so selfish. The people actually told me, that's so selfish. That's for you. That's not for her. You should just not tell her and just move on. Which is horrible advice. Because you're only as sick as your secrets. If you're sick, it's because you got secrets, and you're only as sick as your secrets. That's a little saying from AA that they use. Matt crosses this line of not being known to being known. Changes his life. Changes everything he does. Changes the way he sees. He sees in living color now. It was hard at first, super hard. She promised him she would leave him if that ever happened, and she would take the kids. So he was scared. But he stepped over into this line, and gosh, they worked it out. It doesn't always happen that way, but they're still together. I just got off the phone with him. This is years ago too. Started peaking because he had nothing else weighing him down. That makes sense. That was weighing him down. Okay, Screech. Screech is a SWO and also a high performer. He got out of the Navy. No, at the time he was in the Navy, but he got out on a full ride scholarship to go to law school. Just another phenomenal person. Sat down with Screech and just heard a story. We sat in a room, and this is a workshop that I do where we sit down in a room and you just tell your whole story. And there's no time limit at all. So when Screech was sitting on my couch, my dog was there because I have this therapy dog that's awesome. He's good for he's in tune with people. We saw this, and I had other people there as well helping Screech. Because Screech says, I'm at rock bottom. I don't know what's wrong with me. We saw the sun go down. We saw the sun come up. Screech's issue was he had to forgive his dad for the abuse that he had gone through. But he never got a chance to talk about that because in the military, we don't have a chance to say, hey, tell me about how your dad treated you. We just don't. We have a mission, and sometimes that's not part of what you do day to day. That's my job to help unpack that. When Screech got in touch with that, and I led him through this forgiveness thing, and this is not a religious thing too. Forgiveness means to cancel the debt that I believe someone owes me. So if I believe Chief wronged me, then what I do with that is say, you know what? I hate him because he did this to me and he owes me this. When I forgive, it's the Greek word aphiemi, I say, you know what? And I cancel his debt and I say, you don't owe me anything. Okay? You no longer work for me because you stole money from me, but I can do that and say, but you don't owe me anything anymore. Right? I can forgive someone who sexually abused me and say, but I'm not. But I've redefined the relationship. We can no longer be next to each other. So you can forgive anybody and everybody in your life, and that was actually a true story for me. Just being a little bit vulnerable. I've forgiven people for everything they've ever done to me. At the same time, I don't have to trust them. But it's something I need to do to be at peak psychological performance. I can't walk around with any ounce of bitterness because it stifles you. And you won't start living until you're clear on all your debts. You will not achieve any peak performance if you have any kind of bitterness in your life. And you might be able to justify and say, well, that person's an idiot because they did this, this, and this. But if you walk around like that, that's equivalent to drinking poison and hoping they die. That's what bitterness is. Drinking poison and hoping they die. So what we do is we go into our souls, because that's where it hangs out, wherever it is. I don't know where it is. I don't think it's in the brain. I don't know. But I search deep down in my heart, that cardia, that soul, and I go, and for me, I pray to Jesus. I believe Jesus is the Lord. That's my theology. That's what the Navy pays me to come to represent. Not anything else but that. Okay? Yours might be another religion, but for me, I pray, Lord, I cancel that person's debt. I forgive them, bless them, change me, change my heart, give me more wisdom. Kelly, last story. Another high performance person. I mean, kids squared away like poster children. When she was in youth group, and he rapes her. She walks around with that for years. You talk about wounds, talk about like traumatic wounds and hatred towards the church, and from my perspective, that's where most wounds happen is in these things called churches or religious buildings. It's a lot of what I do is helping people recover from that. Like I'm a recovering church kid. There's a lot of abuse that happens in those areas. When she has a chance to tell her story, she starts to connect it with her performance, perfectionism and drivenness, with her forgiveness of what happened and when it kept happening. So I'm going to show this thing called the Johari window. And, well, I'll start off with this. This Brene Brown, phenomenal, brilliant mind, great author. I try to buy all of her books. Her number one TED Talk is on vulnerability. Has anybody heard Brene Brown's chart? Yeah, it's phenomenal. But she says this: courage starts with showing up and letting ourselves be seen. Everybody's greatest fear in here is being rejected. Like, why would I tell you about myself? Because then you would think different about me, and then you would judge me. So we live our entire lives in fear. Like, I was the kid in class, I wouldn't raise my hand because I didn't want to look like an idiot. I still do that when CEO says, all right, anybody got a question? I'm like, I don't want to look like an idiot. Let's just get a kid. And I always appreciate the person who's just like, yeah. That's transparent, vulnerable, but letting ourselves be seen and knowing that. Let me tell you a secret about everybody in here. We're all the same. But what you tend to do, the junior people, what you tend to do is look at senior people and think they're wearing a cape. I promise you they're not wearing a cape. Sorry to give out your secret, COXO. They're not wearing a cape. And we have the same exact wounds. That's another brief. There's 5. Fear, anger, deceit, shame, and sadness. But that's another. When you invite me back, I'll unpack that one. We all walk around with the same stuff. And whoever lets themselves be seen and known, they experience healing. Or you can go to the Olympics and be the most, but what we want to do is heal. We don't want to operate out of our wounds at all. So one of the last things I'll show here, the Johari window is, it's an awesome chart that I always use. So if you live in this realm over here of you're known by others and you know yourself, that's called living in the arena. You know, imagine an arena, and you're center stage in an arena. Everybody can see you, and you can see yourself. And you're like, okay, I'm aware. That's called living in the arena. If you know yourself, if others know you, but you don't know yourself or how you come across, that's called a blind spot. And you ever been an A driver in here? What's the purpose of an A driver? Right, someone sitting shotgun. What's the purpose of the A driver for the driver?
Traffic.
Yeah, he tells them the blind spots because the driver can't see. So that's your battle buddy. My battle buddy. I'm like, hey Andy, hey Dan, hey Kyle. These are all my best friends. Hey Matt, why am I blind? It's like, well, this is true. Dan said this. He's like, dude, do you think you're better than Jeanette? That's my wife. He's like, you're so prideful, man. You think you're better than her. And I go, no, I don't. He's like, look what you just said, man. So I have friends like that love me enough. It was when we had little kids. Now they're all big, but he goes, you said I don't change the diaper that way. I do it this way. You're like, that's pride, man. You think you're better than her. So my blind spots, they're few and far between now because I have so many friends that speak truth to my life. Okay, if you know yourself, what you struggle with, but people don't know you, well, that's a facade. And then they're just in love with the version that they see of you. This is what's so dangerous about social media, is it's so depressing. There's one of my best friends in the Navy, Dr. Snyder, he's a Navy psychologist. I said, Joel, is there any study that shows that social media is good for you? He goes, Ryan, 0. All studies conclusive across the board show that social media is bad for you mentally, physically, so it's bad for you. Because what we're doing is we're comparing our behind the scenes with people's highlight reel. So everybody looks good, everybody's rich, everybody's eating well, but I'm not, it's depressing. So comparison kills joy. So, and social media is all about this facade. I'm going to project an image of myself that's not true, or someone can go the other way and you're like, dude, that's way too dramatic. You really recorded yourself crying? Like, that's too much. So you can't win on social media. And then if you're not known to others, you're not known to yourself, that's the worst place to be. I'll take it a step further, okay? Going back to Zach's preaching, Kelly, there's a line. This is what will be a game changer for you. I just want to leave you with this. There's a line right about here. It's 99% known, and 1% of you will experience what it's like to cross this line and go, ugh, and to be fully known. Once you cross this line of being fully known, and it's met with being fully loved, it is unreal. How many married people we have in here? Okay, we're adults, we can talk about this, right? You've not even experienced sex and what it was meant to be until you have two people who are fully known with each other. It is mind-blowing, like nothing you have ever experienced. And you will never, this is hot, right? This is going to be a nightmare for you. You will never experience what it's supposed to be unless you cross the line in marriage of being fully known. For those of you who are not married, or divorced, or all kinds of things that life presents us, it's about being known with people and in community. So I can walk around, and if you're 99% known, you're actually not known. And if I'm 99% known, I actually prevent myself from being loved. Because if I'm 99% known and I go, you don't get this 1%, I'm preventing myself from being loved because I say, you don't get this 1%, because if you had this 1%, then you wouldn't love me, so therefore you don't get it, so you don't get to come in. You don't get to, it's called emotional insulation or emotional isolation. Insulation is like, I'm gonna let you in, but like, not all the way. And isolation is like, nobody even gets to know me. They're just gonna know the facade. So, if once people cross that, that's when life begins. You want psychological peak performance, you want to be spiritually fit, it's a person that stepped in the realm of fully known and fully loved. And it takes a lot of trust. It takes a lot of trust. In years of doing this, my favorite quote here, if I ever email you, you see my slide here. I'll leave you with this. Second F 1730. Anybody read that instruction? Mm-hmm. It's awesome. It's awesome. It's chaplain confidentiality. It's my favorite thing about being a chaplain. My favorite thing about being a chaplain is that I don't kiss and tell. Not at all. Pop quiz. What could you tell me that I have to tell the command? Okay, thank you for saying that, because that's what the common understanding is, but that's not true. I don't report anything. Homicide, suicide, threats to national security, child abuse, elder abuse. My ears are graves where people can bury their problems and begin healing. And nobody can, if a SEAL put a gun to my head, I would lie. I'd be like, that person didn't tell me anything. At the same time, we're trained. I'm not, if someone says I'm going to kill myself, I'm like, oh, confidentiality, go ahead. No, that's not how we roll. But I want you to walk away with this. This is where it's at. And because of this, I get to be in the room when someone crosses the line. You might warm up with your friends. If you can get there with your friends, that's awesome. That's awesome. You can get there with your spouse, that's awesome. You will peak performance. And if you say, chaps, I'm about to tell my spouse something that's probably going to end my marriage. I need help. Yeah, we're here. Yeah, we're here for you. But I'm never going to encourage you to hide. Hiding prevents healing. Okay. I have a whole series on this, and I have book recommendations. Actually, let me just go to book recommendations. Go fast forward a little bit, and then I'll leave you with something good to read. Keep going, keep going, keep going, keep going, keep going. Oh, these are all so good. These are like an hour each. Keep going, keep going. You want reading for the new year? Book recommendations. Keep going, keep going. Keep going. That's my daughter. Oh, she's so cute. Okay. Keep going, keep going, keep going, keep going. Okay, yeah. These books. You can go back. You can take a picture of this if you want to. Like, it's just power, vulnerability. It's showing up. The military, our culture will say, don't show up. Don't let people in. That's weakness. True vulnerability is saying, like, you know what? Here's where I struggle. Here's what's happened to me. You keep going. And I hope this stuff sticks. Like, I hope there's a new mindset in the military about what true power and vulnerability is, and true courage. Body keeps score. The Grief Recovery Handbook, and the Wounded Heart. This concludes my brief. Are there any questions for us as a large group? Okay, thank you so much. Thanks for your time. And yeah.